Hi, everyone. My name is Cliff, and welcome to Future Strike. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know I just said it, but I'm going to go ahead and say it again. My name is Cliff, and I'm a writer. I'm a lover and player and thinker abouter of computer and video games of all shapes and sizes. And I'm here with my good friend Spencer.
Hello.
Spencer is the mastermind behind Future Strike. But since this is only episode one, and it's most likely that this is the first you've ever heard of Future Strike, that probably really doesn't tell you that much. So, Spencer, tell us, what is Future Strike?
Thanks, Cliff. Yes, Future Strike is a game project that you and I have been dreaming up for about 2 years. So it's an idea for a beat 'em up meets fighting game with a huge cast of playable characters where all of the CPU AI for the enemy characters and bosses is modeled on real player behavior.
Now, when you say a huge cast of characters, like how many are we talking here? Like 20, 30?
Yeah, we're talking 192 playable characters.
Holy wow.
Yeah, I know.
And now, of course, like I'm acting surprised, but like my surprise is like completely phony because I already knew that. And while I do admit that it sounded crazy when you first told me about this idea, I have now come around and, I do see that it would work, it could work, and this would actually be super fun and really, really compelling.
I think that's right. So, I mean, if you're familiar with most fighting games or beat 'em ups for that matter, 192 sounds like way, way too many characters. However, the genesis for the whole idea was actually thinking about like what our ideal Street Fighter game would be. So we're both big fans of Street Fighter. And we started to imagine a game where the entire cast from all the Street Fighter games would be included, right? Maybe plus some extra characters from other Capcom games. And we agreed that like that would be awesome. And imagine if they did that, they have all the cast there and they did it all in the style of Street Fighter 3, like that would sell so many copies.
So many copies, like so many. I mean, like literally, I'm reaching for my wallet right now and ready to drop $100 for that right now. And I mean, I know that I'm fairly sure that like many people in the fighting game community, they would feel the same
Yeah,
in a heartbeat.
exactly. So, we love that idea and it was just like fun to imagine and talk about it. But, that would already have over 100 characters. So we started to think about, well, how could that work from a gameplay and kind of game systems perspective? And that's when I thought of this idea for having like an archetype matrix.
Mm-hmm. And actually, before you say much more, like not everybody really knows exactly what that is. Not everybody's familiar with fighting game character archetypes. So, like, can you quickly just kind of go through what character archetypes are?
Sure. So part of the theory of fighting games is that the characters can be clustered into a set of archetypes. So the archetypes are kind of define things like their basic moves and strategies that they will use to be more successful. One classic archetype is like the Shoto. So that's based around classic kind of Ryu and Ken move sets, fireballs, dragon punches, hurricane kicks, that sort of thing. Another archetype is the grappler. So that's based around like classic Zangief. You got to get in there, got to get close. You got these powerful grabs. So there's actually all different kinds of ways that you might sort of count or classify the archetypes. But at least for now, Future Strike, as we're thinking about it, has 13 different archetypes.
No, that is actually helpful. And we'll be sure to put some links down to the whole list of 13 archetypes below. So tell us more about this like archetype matrix. Like, what is that? Why did you start thinking about this archetype matrix as we were sort of developing this super duper ultra crazy mega Street Fighter 3 game idea?
So the matrix really just started as an exercise to try and organize all the Street Fighter characters by their archetypes. So it was like, take all the archetypes, try to sort all the Street Fighter characters into them so that they have like one primary archetype and one secondary. And ideally, you want to have at least one of each such permutation. And then that allows you to construct the matrix. So you basically just square the number of archetypes. So 13 archetypes means you need at least 169 different characters.
But like, there's not exactly enough Street Fighter characters for that, even across all the games. So then, like, right, you started kind of borrowing from other series like Darkstalkers, rival schools, things like that, right?
Yeah, that's right. So eventually filled out the whole matrix with these Capcom characters. But then I think you kept pushing me to think about, well, what about an original IP?
Yeah, but you were kind of resistant.
I was. So if I recall correctly, I think I had it in my head that getting the Capcom IP would be like critical to actually selling the idea.
Well, that would be, I mean, that would be huge, no
No,
doubt.
totally. And I think like if Capcom somehow like did this or saw this and just like took the systems we've outlined for Future Strike and did it with their IP, like that would be amazing. Like I would totally buy that.
Then I know that you filled the matrix out and we started playing around, riffing and on all the characters. And, in part, like when we started thinking about like bringing this beat 'em up component into this fighting game, it's like, well, what's the story? Right. I remember we were like, what's the story? What's the world? How are all these characters going to exist and be battling through in the streets and everything? Right.
Right.
So,
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So we started like twisting the Capcom characters kind of, and then twisting them again, and then thinking up new fun ideas for the world. And eventually we had pretty much like dispensed with the Capcom characters altogether.
yep. And it was like, I remember there was sort of a moment where we were like, we love those characters, but see ya. No longer needed. We have our own thing now.
That's right. But I think even though we kind of, left the Capcom IP behind, the vision for the game is really the same. It's just, this 2D fighting game. We want to look and play like Street Fighter 3, except in addition to the kind of one-on-one versus mode, there's also this whole beat 'em up mode where you travel from stage to stage, you beat up goons until you reach the boss, and then all the bosses are the playable characters, right? So you got to meet the boss, you got to beat the boss, and you unlock them, and then you can play them on your next run.
So, like, yeah, those are the two basic loops. You got the fighting game, you got the beat 'em up. All the bosses are playable characters, which is, I mean, awesome. But like, I know you kind of mentioned this whole AI bit. So, like, tell us more about this, how the AI fits in.
Yeah, so the AI bit is really just taking the ideas from the 2013 Killer Instinct Shadow AI system and building that into the core logic of the game. So in the Shadow AI system, it's basically you sort of trained this, AI, I guess, like to play like you do, right? You just have to play a bunch of matches and it kind of learns how to play the way that you play or the way that a real person would play. And so the thought is that you have all the computer controlled bosses in this game that you face in the beat 'em up mode. They're really just shadows, right? They're just models of actual player behavior for that character in that matchup.
I love that so much, because like now in Future Strike, when you're bombing through the levels in single player beat 'em up mode, you still have that social element where you're not just learning all the patterns and kind of beating the guys bit by bit through memory. You actually have the feeling and the reality of playing the way an actual other character would be or human would be playing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. That's the core of it. Future Strike is a fighting game meets beat 'em up, huge cast of precisely defined characters, and then you have this player modeling shadow AI system that can provide a continuously engaging challenge.
So now that we all know a little bit more about what Future Strike is, like now let's talk a little bit about what we want to do with this channel.
So the fundamental goal of the channel is really to widen the conversation. So Cliff, I know you and I have had so much fun discussing the idea and starting to bring it to life. We want to share this and invite others to join us in the fun. So whether that's just tuning in to these episodes or checking out the ideas and the concept art on our Obsidian page, posting the comments, or even reaching out to get more involved.
We know that there are so many other people and gamers out there, just like us, who are interested in talking, thinking, playing games just like we do. So if this is you and like you start getting kind of excited listening to us talk about this game, this Future Strike idea, please hit the like button, please subscribe, please comment. We're super excited to just welcome you and be part of the conversation and kind of join along this crazy journey that we're on here.
Truly, Future Strike is very much in the ideation or pre-production stage, but the faster we can build a community and demonstrate the enthusiasm for the idea, the faster it becomes a reality.
One of the things that we plan to do on this channel is invite guests on and to talk with us. And, of course, based on who the guest is, their background, the exact topic of conversation and discussion is going to differ based on the guest. But as a way of introducing everyone and just kind of making this a fun channel for gaming in general, we plan to ask every guest 3 questions.
Yes. And in fact, since this is our first episode, why don't we start by answering the questions ourselves? So here we go, Cliff. Question 1. What is your favorite game genre and why?
Funny you should ask. My favorite game genre actually is the beat 'em up.
Nice.
Yeah, there's the beat 'em up. There's nothing like bombing through the streets and just beating up goon after goon after goon, which is something I've never been able to do in real life.
Nice. What is your favorite beat 'em up game?
I mean, there's so many to choose from, but just I would have to say the old Ninja Turtles
Yeah.
game, arcade, early 90s, Donatello. It's my favorite.
Donatello.
Yeah, he's got the reach.
I know. I was going to say Donatello, that's easy mode.
I don't care.
Okay.
I was 11.
Yeah. Question 3. What is your favorite fighting game and why?
That's another tough question, but I'm going to go ahead and say Street Fighter 5.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
And I'll say the reason why, and this is what I think is so great about fighting games, is the social element we've talked about. I have, over the past like couple of years, we've played a lot of Street Fighter 5 together with you and me and some other friends, and it's just so much fun to play together. I have great memories doing that. So
nice. What memory stands out for you like the most, if you had to say?
I would have to say getting endlessly beaten by Dan.
Yeah.
With the most annoying
What's
combo.
up? What's up? Boom.
Exactly. Baby bro is gonna do da 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 da. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, nice. That's my memory and that's my answer, and I'm sticking to it.
Very good.
So back at you, Spencer. Same questions. So Spencer, what is your favorite game genre and why?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds strange to say this because we're talking about like fighting and beat 'em up games, but I think if I had to choose, my favorite game genre is probably the like simulation sort of strategy games. So, and I think in particular, not like the most complicated ones, but I like those ones that are like medium complicated, but where you really have a nice sort of atmosphere. So like Endless Space and Endless Space 2 are really big fans of mine. Like if ever I watch like Star Wars or any kind of like space opera or whatever, like on TV, the first thing I want to do is I'm just like, I need to go build my space empire now. It's like, it just gets me so excited, and you just have that. I feel like that those games have such a great feel. So those are some of my favorite. That's probably my favorite genre, and that's probably my favorite example of it.
Okay. Yep. What about your favorite beat 'em up game? What is your favorite beat 'em up game, Spencer?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I remember as a kid, the first like times I saw Final Fight, and it just like, yeah, I mean, just all the reasons why that game is famous, like these big sprites, like, it was so fun, like, it just, but I think the beat 'em up game I probably played the most is Super Double Dragon on the Super Nintendo. And I just like I shouldn't say I mastered, but like I totally defeated that game. Like eventually, like I just knew all the routines of all like the bosses and everything, like just like we're talking about, right? Like in a way, it's like why it ultimately maybe even feels a little bit empty at the end, because it's just like once you kind of figure it out, it's like, okay, I know the system, I can just grind my way through this, like no sweat. But not every beat 'em up game incentivizes you to do that, but that one I enjoyed it enough that I sort of learned to master it in that way.
Iconic. And then so then what is your favorite fighting game and why?
I know I was thinking about that. I mean, we've been talking about Street Fighter 3, and I think if I had to choose like what do I think is like the best one, I think it would be that one, but I don't feel like I have the hours yet because I really came to it late, like through Fightcade basically. So I'm tempted to say maybe Street Fighter 4. Like I definitely put more time into that one. I mean, as it's obvious, I love a big cast of characters. So like Ultra Street Fighter 4, like so many characters, like there's so much there to learn. It's so challenging, but like so rewarding. So it's probably got to be that one, even though I think like, objectively Street Fighter 3, that's the one I want to aspire to.
It's the platonic, what do they call it? The platonic.
Yeah, I feel like it's the platonic form of the fighting game.
There we
I
go.
think that's our North Star for Future Strike for sure.
All the other games, we're just looking at the shadow on the wall.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, I think that does it for episode 1, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. Please like, please subscribe, and have some fun. Please tell us how you would answer the 3 questions that we've asked each other in the comments, and we'll see you all in the next one.